take a look at Make Music Cloud 101, and it's going to be an overview. So let's keep that in mind as we proceed through the rest of today. Before we go too much further, it's important that you understand that Make Music Cloud is modeled after your school hierarchy. There's a reason for that. It's, you'll see in a minute the why, but you already live this. You basically have principal, an assistant principal, teachers, and students, and that's generally your flow, right? And I know sometimes in certain days it might feel a little bit like this. Just a little bit of humor here today. But Make Music Cloud is the same thing. There's an owner. The owner is probably your school district. It might be a purchasing agent. It could be your head of cultural arts. It could be you. So whoever initiated the purchase of the Make Music Cloud subscriptions, they're the owner. Again, generally it's your school district. Then we have administrators. Those administrators get invited to join the platform. The administrator or administrators, if there's more than one, are then responsible for inviting the teachers. The teachers are then responsible for inviting the students to become part of a class. So that's generally the flow of permissions with Make Music Cloud. It kind of gives you, a sense of why it's structured this way and how it's working. All right. How do you get started? First, before anybody starts anything, everybody needs to understand that Make Music Cloud works in the Chrome browser only. And it has to be the latest version of Chrome, by the way. So if in the middle of a demonstration today, Chrome updated itself and it stopped working properly, the first thing I would do is just check and see if there's an update to my Chrome browser. And 90% of the time, I update my browser and any technical issues I had disappear. All right. So that's how important it is that you work in the Chrome browser and that it is the latest version. Now we have one exception. If you're using an iPad, it will open in Safari. So on an iPad in Safari only. That's the only exception. Every else is going to be Chrome browser. So if you already have an account, okay, you would log into your account. It still says home.smartmusic.com, our old name. Be aware that probably will change. Okay, it probably will start to say home.makemusiccloud.com in the future. But there's your login. You see you can click and log in with Google. You can enter your email, username, whatever you decided to go with, and your password, and you should be able to get into your account. All right, so that's important to realize once you have the account. Okay, if you're joining a platform, especially as an owner administrator, you have an invitation in your email. It came from team@makemusic.com. Okay, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure it's not going to your junk mail. And you'll get this invitation, and it's pretty self-explanatory what you're going to do. You're going to click on that accept invite and then begin the process of creating the account. All right. So it's pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. Once the administrator has set themselves up with their account, their job next is going to be to invite the teachers. So again, the administrator can be anybody in your district. It could be, again, your cultural arts administrator. It could be the head of the music department. It could be a band director in the high school. It could be a choir director in the middle school. It can be anybody. It's whoever you all decide is going to be your administrator. And if you have a very large district with many schools, you may decide you're going to cover these schools, I'm going to cover those schools, and split up those administrative responsibilities. The administrator invites the teachers. And as you can see here, the arrow's pointing to invite new teacher. And you would obviously click on it and then enter an email. And then they would receive a link very similar to what the administrator just got. And it's the same thing. Just click and accept the invite. I do want to note with this one, this particular account had a print add-on subscription. Print add-on subscription allows you to print those titles that are print accessible within Make Music Cloud. It's an additional fee. Some districts have found that that is of value for them, and they have chosen to add that to their accounts. All right, so click on the link in the email to accept the invite and then create your account. This account creation form that you're looking at is exactly the same a student would have. So once you've done it, you now have the same experience that a student will when they start to create their accounts. And you're going to be asked to make sure you select United States of America. If you choose something outside of the US, there is the potential to not have access to certain titles because they're not licensed in other parts of the world. It does make a difference on the time zone, so take a look at that and make sure you're getting yourself logged into your time zone. That's important. If you're 13 years or older, just indicate that. Put your name, last name, put your email in there. If you're a school teacher, I highly recommend that you're using your school email for that. And then a backup email, which would probably be a private email account, just so you have a backup in case your logins get messed up. Select your username, select your password, confirm that password. Choose a primary instrument where you might be interfacing with Make Music Cloud. So if your primary instrument's trumpet, go ahead and select that. And then you can choose anything else. I recommend to teachers to consider choosing voice as their secondary instrument, because as you're going on, you're probably going to have some kind of vocal assignments for your students, your instrumentalists. And obviously, if you're a choir teacher, you're going to be doing some kind of vocal or general music as well. So just give some thought to that. I would choose a secondary just so you have it there. You will have to click I have read and agree to the terms and conditions. Once you've done that, you can click submit. This button down here is just so that you can stay in contact with us, or we can stay in contact with you about any updates, important changes coming in the future, those kinds of things. If you don't want that, obviously deselect it. By the way, your students will not have that. That's important. That's the only difference between your account creation and theirs. They will not have that selection possibility. Once you've created your account and everything's there, you're going to open it up, and there's a graphic here on the page, and it's pointing to, there's a dotted line that points to this blue cross plus sign here. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on that blue plus sign, and you have two things you can do. You can add or share some music quickly, or the first thing is to create a class, which is probably what you would like to do, is create a class of some kind. But that's what you're going to look like. For the administrator that's with us today, if you're also going to be a teacher, it might pay for you to make yourself a teacher as well. It's not going to take up an additional seat. It just gets you into the possibility of creating a gradebook and creating assignments. I do know administrators across the US who do this because they just want to understand the functionality of what their teachers are doing, even if they're not teaching a class. And you're more than welcome to do that. All right. So to make yourself a teacher, you would be in the admin portion of Make Music Cloud on the administrators tab. Notice it says administrator up here. And you would select your name and then add teacher role. So now you also have the same capabilities as your teachers. Teachers associated with a platform can have either a free or a paid teacher Make Music Cloud subscription. A free subscription gives the teacher access to a limited portion of the library and features in Make Music Cloud. A paid subscription gives the teacher full access to the catalog and features in Make Music Cloud. This video describes the 3 scenarios in which administrators grant and remove paid teacher subscriptions to teachers in their platform. A separate video explains how to allocate and deallocate print add-on subscriptions if your platform has them. The first way to determine the access of a teacher is by inviting them with either a free or paid subscription from the start. When the teacher accepts the invitation, they join the platform with the access they were granted at the time of the invite. In a second scenario, an administrator grants or removes a paid teacher subscription from a teacher that is already associated with a platform. This scenario would apply if a school decides to purchase subscriptions after having initially used Make Music Cloud for free. Let's see how this works. In the admin pages, the administrator clicks on Teachers and sees the list of teachers associated with the platform. To allocate a teacher subscription to an existing free teacher, the administrator selects the checkbox next to the teacher's name and then selects the Allocate Teacher sub button. Teacher subscriptions give the user access to the entire Make Music catalog and functionality, as well as the ability to create classes to which interactive music, uploaded content, and sight reading outlines can be assigned. Notice how a purple dot displays in the Teacher Subs column next to the teacher's name. To deallocate a teacher subscription, select the checkbox next to the teacher's name and select the Deallocate Teacher Sub button. This removes the paid subscription from the teacher, the purple dot disappears, and downgrades all their classes to free classes. Access to the catalog becomes limited to only the selections marked free. A third scenario arises when a teacher needs to be completely removed from the platform. Common circumstances include when a teacher retires or leaves the district. In this case, the administrator wants to archive the teacher. To archive a teacher, select the checkbox next to their name and then select the Archive button. Archiving a teacher not only removes them from the platform, thus freeing a teacher subscription, but also automatically archives their classes and students. Any student subscriptions associated with those classes become available again in the platform. This process cannot be easily undone, so be sure that's what you want to do before performing the action. If you need to assign an admin role to a teacher, simply click the checkbox next to the teacher's name and then select the Update Admin Role button. A dialog box appears. Select Add Administrator Roles, then select Update Roles. A purple dot now appears in the Is Admin Role column. Another dialog box appears in the upper right-hand corner of the app indicating the roles were updated successfully. To deallocate administrator roles, repeat the above process and select the Remove Administrator Roles button. Additional information in the form of gray dots can appear in columns. The gray dot in the teacher sub-column is indicating that this teacher has a subscription outside this platform. Therefore, you cannot allocate or deallocate their subscription. The same is true if the dot is in the print columns. A gray dot in the admin column indicates that the administrator is the owner of the platform. To note that we're showing a video that's in Make Music Cloud Academy. There's an example of the resource that's available to you if you need to go back after today's session and look up any specific item. But that was a really great demonstration of how for subscriptions are handled. What I'd like to do right now is leave presentation mode here and actually go live into Make Music Cloud. Right now, what you're looking at is this is a teacher's account because it says teach up here. And it's showing I have 4 classes, all right? Some materials that I have, some assignments, content that I have inside of my Make Music Cloud account, things I've shared, things that are shared with me, my playlists, and then a navigation drop-down menu over here. And all I did was move my mouse to the left, and all of the possible places to go are there. Obviously, home's going to bring me home again, all right? But if I just scroll over here again, I can go to the music catalog, I can check my library, look at the video lessons, which I highly recommend you all take a look at. Video lessons are the Con Selmer professor videos that really address anything from beginning, putting an instrument together, to sound production and tone quality and intonation. There's a wonderful resource built into the application here. Content Manager, which is all of the things you have created for use with your students. Compose is your in-application notation creation application. And you can also import music notation via XML, MIDI, and SMZ. A really unbelievable tool called Sight Reading Builder, which we will not cover in 101. We will in 201. where you can generate your own sight reading outlines for your students to work on, where you dial in specifically what parts of notation reading they're going to work on. The classroom title here, these are all of the tools available to you as an educator. Your students wouldn't have these, but you would have your gradebook, you would have class tools, which would be for creating a grading scale, creating a calendar, and actually pinning a method book. We'll talk about that. A way to get to all your assignments. What you have been seeing a lot in the last 5 minutes has been the administrator page, where all of that material lies. And then a very powerful page called Class Analytics, which lets you know how much time your students are spending on the assignments you created for them and how much time they're spending exploring. A really, really powerful tool that you can use. You can also create a class from here. So you have two places. You can go to the plus sign here or here. And then something to make you all aware of, you can actually join a class. So let's say you're teaching and you have a colleague who's teaching a percussion class, and you'd like to see, what kind of assignments they're doing in that. Well, if that teacher shares the unique class code with you, you can join their class and be able to see what those assignments are like. And another way to do it is click down here and join class. I'm going to go back up here and show you. If I click on Learn, those are classes that I have joined. So these are some colleagues of mine, their classes, and I have joined those so that I can understand what they're doing in their classrooms. So I'm going back to Teach. Some other tools to be aware of. We do have a built-in tuner. If you click on it, it opens in a new tab. What I like to do is teach my students and teachers too, is to tear that off, resize it so it's on the screen, and I'm using it when I am teaching or my students are practicing. So if you resize it and it's up on the screen, you're still looking at your music, it's a great resource for you. And it's a really in-depth tuner, and it does provide reference pitches as well. The other two icons over here that are important for you to know about are the question mark, the help, and those are some resources that you can access within the application. I already mentioned Make Music Academy. It goes there. There's the Help Center. And then here is your login information and how you manage your subscription and log out. Also on this page are just some general icons. If I have pieces of music that I've given the heart icon to, they're in my favorites. If I've created playlists, they're here, so I have quick access to them. And if I'm generally searching for some music, I have some real powerful cards here, placards. Notice Method Books is the largest one. There's a reason for that. It's the most used item in Make Music Cloud. And I'm actually going to give you a new phrase, and I want you to memorize this. Make Music Cloud is the method book. Make Music Cloud is the method book. We all have our favorites. We're going to pick that one that we use with our students. But you have 199 other method books here that you can use with your students, and they will meet certain needs as you go along. How exciting it could be. Okay, we've gotten to a certain level. Everybody can play hot cross buns, but I don't want to go any further yet. They're not quite. But now I can laterally move to 4 or 5 other method books that have that same hot cross buns with different accompaniment at different tempos, with certain style phrasing. So very rich resource here. If you're looking for your band and orchestra titles, you'll click here. We have sight reading materials, solos, exercises, improv, small ensemble, choir. And you do have, as you scroll down here, the ones you've recently opened and any other method books that you have pinned. This is the method book I have pinned for this particular class. All right. So that's just a quick, brief overview of the navigation and how it works. We did go through the allocate print. And what I want to talk about next is creating classes, because that's probably where you want to get to if you haven't done it already. So creating a class. If you already had an account but hadn't created classes, remember, that's what your page is going to look like. All right. It's important to note that. So don't panic. Your homepage will look a little different. Your next thing is to click on that plus sign and get that process started. Or go to that drop-down menu and start it from there. But that's basically what you want to do, is create a class. And there's the create a class button in the drop-down menu. So those are your two ways of getting to that quickly. Once you've clicked on it, you'll be brought to this page. And the first questions it's asking you are, would you like to connect this to a platform? So a platform is generally the school district that purchased the subscription. So if you're in Sun Valley schools, it's going to say Sun Valley Schools there. If you're in West Idaho Preserve, that's what it's going to say, West Idaho Preserve. So most times that's what you're going to do. You're going to click and associate with that platform. Next, you want to click on who's funding the class. Again, generally, it's the school district has purchased those. You could have a free class, and those free classes that you create would only have access to about 75 titles in Make Music Cloud spread across all the categories. If your students are paying for the subscriptions, you would click here. If you're having your students self-pay, most of you are going to click on the red schoolhouse. That's your friend. Very important that you make those connections, okay? Because if you click here and associate it to a platform, then click free, then we're going to have to undo that. It's a little more work for us, all right? So remember, now you're selecting your platform, and you're selecting platform that you've associated for your school, and you select the red schoolhouse, and you're ready to go. So now you will have typed in a name, you created your class, and it's going to show up here in classes. Notice some things here. There's a unique code that only your class has. No other class has that code. So you can copy it, paste it to a document, put it up on the board in your classroom, several things you can do, and get that to your students. That's how you're going to get them to join your class. Once you've created several classes, more than one, it'll start to list out in your classes. And notice the titles will be here. There's the unique class code. Here's a way I can click on copying it. Who is the teacher? They're all paid subscriptions, okay? And there's also an archive button here, and you heard about that usage earlier, what would happen if you archived. So now that you've created your classes, they show up here on your homepage. So the next thing is, I've created my class, but I can't send assignments and I can't do any grading until I have some other parameters set up. And the main thing is, I have to associate a grading scale. That's the first thing. So how do you do that? And this is what class tools are used for. All right. And how do you get there? They're right there. And you create a grading scale. You can create a grading calendar and pin a method book. And we'll talk about each of these things, why they're valuable. So let's talk about the grading scale first. There it is. It's in the class tools. I got there by going to that menu over on the left, right? I'm going to highly suggest that all of you look at the predefined grading scales first. Why? I want to save you some time. So if any one of these grading scales fits the needs for your evaluation of your students, select it. The one that 90% of us use is right here at the top, A+, A-. If you select that, that's now the grading scale that's going to be associated with this class. If you need to, you can import a predefined grading scale, which is the one we just did, okay? Or if you've already created a class and created a grading scale, all you got to do is select it, and now it's also associated with this class. If none of these work for you, then you have to create your own grading scale. And this is the process, and this is what it looks like when you open it up. You'll associate the letter grade or whatever you want to call it, a percentage, and then automatically it provides the next one down. You'll click the plus sign and keep adding levels. Once you've got your grading scale finished, you'll click save, you'll give it a name, it'll make it a unique name, maybe to your class, to your name, whatever it is. And now that's the grading scale that you'll associate with your classroom. All right. So that's before I can assign any materials to my students, before I can assess anything, I have to establish that. All right. And once it's done, I click save and I'm good to go. This is now a grading calendar. And the grading calendar, I highly recommend that you all have your school district's calendar out and making sure that you're getting the first day and last day of quarters, semesters, trimesters, however your school's organized. Make sure those dates are in there, they're accurate, and they're bulletproof then. All right. So setting up a grading calendar will allow you then to break your gradebook into semesters, trimesters, quarters, however your school district chooses to do. So you can create a brand new one. If you've already created the calendar, you can reuse it, just like you did with the grading scale. All right. And I generally recommend you associate it with the name of your class. All right. This is important. So the first question I usually get is, well, what's this pinning a method book? Why would I want to do that? So pinning the method book is a service for your students. What it does is it puts the icon for the method book you're going to use the most on your student's homepage. So they don't have to search, they don't have to look for a line. They simply open the method book and then go to whatever you've told them they need to be practicing and working on. All right. It's accessible from their homepage. So the other thing to keep in mind on this is you can change the method book as many times as you want. You can change it within the course of a day. So pinning a method book is a powerful tool. You can only pin one method book at a time, all right? But you can change what you do. So you see here, I selected Building Beautiful Voices because that's what I'm going to use with my Breathtaking Bridges choir. And I'll save it. So now all of my choir students, when they open up Make Music Cloud, this is on their home screen and they can go in and practice whatever lines I've suggested. All right, that's pinning a method book. Highly recommend you do it. I did use it many, many times in my career. There is some other things in here that you can set up badges for rewards and stuff. I'm not really going to go into the details of that. It's optional. Take a look at it if you want to. It's something that if you think it works for your students, your class, go ahead and set it up. Okay, I'm going to continue. So next, let's go to enrolling the students. Okay, we've created our classes. Now we want to populate that. All right, this is important. So the trick to getting your students into your class is finding that unique class code. How do you get to your class? Here's one of the fastest ways. If you've created a class, is just click on the Students tab of that class. That'll get you there the quickest way. See? So clicking on Students gets you to your class. And if you have nobody enrolled, it's going to bring you here and you're going to see there's nobody there. But in this particular one, I have 8 students that are enrolled. There's that URL, class code, not URL, that's associated with my class. And I see that I already have 8 students in here and 6 have print subscriptions and so on. All the way to the right was a tab that was clicked that says Add Students. This is a really powerful portion of Make Music Cloud. And there's many ways to get your students in here. If you have a learning management system, you kind of already have this unique way of enrolling the students. I'm not going to go through each one of those learning management systems. I did provide you with a resource guide if you need it. Most schools, you already have been using your learning management system. You know how to get your students enrolled in your class through that. So if you're going to do that, you can simply click on Import Students, and then you are linking to either Google Classroom, Canvas, or Schoology. Another short, quick way to get your students enrolled in your class is if you import from a CSV file. You can do that by clicking on this. It gives you a template, and all you have to do is copy and paste your students' names and their emails into that template, and then you'll be able to upload that data and get your students enrolled in Make Music Cloud. Now, do they have accounts yet? No, because they still have to create the account, but it gets them enrolled, and now they'll be alerted to create their account. The trick is always copying the class code, all right? And I'm going to also suggest if you don't have a learning management system and you want a bulletproof way to get your students to enroll, is to use the provided email template that we give you here, all right? If you've already had a class, let's say this is 5th grade choir, but you had 4th grade choir last year, and all your students are re-enrolling, let's say, except for 2. You could click, if you already have a class, click re-enroll. So that's another way. And we do provide enroll student help if you're still not 100% sure how to do this. So multiple ways of getting your students into your classes. So that student enrollment process, click the copy button next to the class code. You can share it with them however you want. Again, project it up on the screen, do it in a lab with a bunch of computers with the students present. Maybe they all have their own devices. You take 10 minutes out of your rehearsal and you enroll a whole class live. They have to enter their email and create the account. And this process works for under 13 because you're providing a unique class code that no one else gets. All right. So it's FERPA and COPA compliant. Everything works well. Once the students show on your roster, let's say you've got a bunch enrolled, but a couple didn't, just again, copy the class code and share it with those additional students. And the URL is still admin.smartmusic.com/join. In the future, it's probably going to become Make Music Cloud. That's all you need to be aware of. It'll redirect to it. So I wouldn't be concerned about it. So this is that copied email that's on that list that I showed you earlier. Remember, enroll students there or invite students. So this is what it looks like. It's all pre-done for you. It includes the URL and the unique class code. So that's what your students are getting in their email. And that's how they're going to get started in Make Music Cloud. So once they get that in their email, they're going to be brought here. What that unique class code will do is it'll put the code in here so they don't have to do it. It'll put it in here, and it will also populate their email because they've clicked on the link. If for whatever reason they don't get there and they just click on join class and it's empty, they still just put their email and the class code. Once they do that, now they're going to be brought up here, and you'll see the unique class codes there. They click on find class, and then what happens is what you see below here. So now the unique class code is there. It's showing this is the class, here's the teacher, and you're going to click on the join this class button. Now, they still have to create the account just like you did. They're going to get an email activation, right, that says you now have to activate your account. Here it is. It'll be confirm your email. They click on it, and now they're brought to the exact same setup that you had before, except they will not be able to click on getting into being notified about changes in the platform and different advertising things that you should know about as the year goes on. And again, if you're stuck, we have resources built in. And now the student, this student actually has joined all 4 classes. So they're in all 4 here. So if it was just one class, there would just be one class up here. If you had already created an assignment, they would already be seeing assignments. I can't go into each one of these learning management systems. You are actually better equipped at that, but you don't have to manage multiple student logins anymore. Once you are enrolled in Schoology, Google Classroom, or Canvas, your students are now interfacing, getting to their class, their assignments through the learning management system that your school district is using. Remember I told you about you could import your students via a CVS file, all right? If you did that, you would see this pending, and it would be lit up with the red and maybe a bigger list than what I have here. And you'd be able to get your students into your classroom by selecting their names. And if it was, let's say it was 50 names, you could just select all and then click on the pending, select the names you want, then click approve, and they're now in your class. They haven't created their accounts, but they're in your class. If they've already created an account, they will be in your class. They're populated. Really great news is we know students sometimes forget their passwords. It's now built into Make Music Cloud. If they forget, first thing you're going to do is look over here. I'm selecting their name. The student told me they got locked out of their account. I then click on the reset password button, and you click proceed, and now they have a 2-week, 14 days temporary password, and they're back into their accounts. Very quick, very seamless. I will share with you a tip. This is from other teachers I've talked to across the country. In the creating the account process, they want their students to use their school email, but then they suggest put my email in as your backup email. And the teachers like to do that because then they're notified if the student has trouble logging in. So it's not something that's required. It's not something you have to do. It's just something I've heard other teachers doing, and they find that, they like to be in control that way. They're ready to go. If your district purchased print add-ons, your administrator would make sure that you had access to those print add-ons, and then you would be able to allocate print to your students. And the way that's done is similar to what we just saw in all the other. You would select the student with the checkbox over here down on the left. You then click on the allocate print button, and then your that student will have gotten it. You'll get that verification up there as well. All right. So that's only if you have the print allocation subscription. That's an additional purchase. So some things for you all to be aware of. On our Make Music Cloud website, as you go across the top, all the tabs here, resources. If you just click on resources, you'll see this page with all of our resources listed on it. The first one for you, educator resources. Please look at it, check it. All right. We have resources for your parents where they see how the process is of starting the account. And then more importantly, what is an assignment like? How does that work? How does it look? There's resources for your students. We have events and clinics going on throughout the year. There's at least 2 things going on a month or more, maybe even a week. So check it out. We're providing a lot of additional content for you. The parent resource, again, shows you the getting started. We're going to be updating this particular video here in the next couple of weeks. The educators resources, pay close attention to this. Look at the upper left corner. So new to Make Music Cloud, just within the last 3 months, if you're in a state that has a state list of solo and ensemble repertoire for festivals, it is now here. You may want to bookmark that. You might want to be able to, search the resources that are available to you off your state lists that are inside of Make Music Cloud. We do have an educator toolkit. I know we've just updated a lot of the links. Lots of resources here for you as the educator. All right. The other resource, I pointed to it earlier, is the Help Center and Make Music Academy. So if you're more of a read directions, recipe-oriented learner, I would select the Help Center and then type in the search, enrolling students, creating assignments, grading assignments, whatever it is you're looking for. Same thing now, if you click on Make Music Academy, you'll be brought to a list. Again, you get there through the question mark, all right, in the application. All right, there's Make Music Academy if you clicked on that link, and that's what it looks like. I'll highly recommend that you take a look at our Getting Started resources first, but then scroll down. There is some old content still up there, but we have also updated a lot of our Make Music Cloud Academy videos to reflect the new look and the new ask. And here's what it looks like inside the app again. You click on the question mark. If you click on the Help Center, it's going to bring you to this page. All right, and notice there's resources on the left here for students and performers, resources here. You just really want to get good at Make Music Cloud, take a look at those first 10 articles in there. If you're an admin, you'll probably have to look at the first 3. And if you're just a teacher, you can skip those first 3. And there's some really good material here. If you're looking for something specific, type it in the search. Like maybe you want to check out microphone settings for Make Music Cloud. So type in microphone. You'll get a list of all our articles that are talking about it. Up here is the submit a request. That is your tech support direct link. It goes right to somebody's desk in Boulder, Colorado. So if you have a technical issue, that's where you're going to go. Submit the request, explain in detail what's, not working for you properly. It's also a way for you to request literature if you want to. So that's the Help Center. The Academy is your video resource. If you like watching movies that show you how to do things, and you've already seen the one I embedded here earlier on enrolling. The next thing is I need to figure out how to find some music. So I think it's best to do it live. Let's just go inside here. So it depends on what you're looking for. All right. I already have some resources up here that we'll take a look at that I've already preloaded. So let's say you're looking for a method book. So you could just go here and click on the method book. If you know the title of your method book, you could put that up here. So if it happens to be Sound Innovations, you click that search, and there's all of the Sound Innovations material that is in Make Music Cloud. Now, it depends. You might be the orchestra teacher, so maybe you wanted Make Music, Sound Innovations Orchestra. If you added orchestra, this would show up. Some things to see now. Once I've gone past the searching, I'm inside the search part of the application. You're getting some important information over here on the left. First and foremost, it's talking about interactive versus digital. Well, what is that? Interactive means it has accompaniment. Your students are practicing with a pre-recorded track to help solidify time and intonation and blend and balance and all those other musical aspects as well. Digital, I'm going to click on it so you all see this. Digital is a view-only, non-assignable piece of music in Make Music Cloud. So if you were looking for Sound Innovations Fanfare for concert band, you could open it up inside the digital platform. And I wanted you to see that. And we do have now these preview screens so that you don't have to necessarily go into the whole piece. You can preview and get to some parts quickly to see how things look and operate, so you're able to preview, and you can actually listen to it as well. It does have a playback button. That was a trick question. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not, because I don't have an accompaniment. So what I clicked on was I got to the part. So if you want to broadcast this in the classroom, there it is. If you have a print subscription, you can print it. All right, head out. If you want to, you could put the score up and show your students, this is why you're playing pianissimo here. Look at, who has the solo, or look at how thin the texture is of the piece. So if I wanted to get to the score, it's usually down here, you'll find it. So this is digital only. It's basically print on screen. I can see the entire score. I can scroll through it. Great teaching method. Broadcast it up in your classroom, have your students look at it. All right. So let's just back out of all of this, get back to where we were. Method books. And we were looking for the interactive titles. So here I am. If I want to work with concert band, I would click here. I'd open the book. I'd have the playback materials, so on. Same thing for orchestra. Notice we do have Sound Innovations for guitar if anybody's teaching guitar or asked to. But the advanced books are in here too. If your beginning group can do one or two of these exercises, have them do it. Because then you have the leverage of saying to your students, listen, you guys are doing so well. I'm going to let you look at what the middle school students are working on. That's a reward system in itself. Okay, we're not just working in the beginning book. Mr. So-and-so has us, doing the band stuff as well, or the advanced band material, so on. You get the point. I'll share with you in my teaching career, I used Foundations for Superior Performance, the chorale and intonation exercises with beginning students. After 4 weeks, we were in there and we were learning how to tune tonics, fifths, and thirds, and they loved it. And I always made it out like, it's, don't tell the high school students that I'm letting you do this, that kind of thing. They just ate that up. So it works really well. So now you know how to get in, search for like method books, look around, get in there and do some stuff. If you're looking for a specific piece, again, if you know your title, you can look for it that way. So maybe I'm working with my advanced wind ensemble and we're doing American Overture Band. I just clicked on it. Here it is. I open it up. Okay. I want to do the preview. I can look through here. By the way, there's some things you can do here on these previews. If this is a favorite, and it already is because I already have the minus sign there. So I just removed it from my putting back. It's one of my favorites. If I want to add it to a playlist, and we'll talk about playlists in a little bit, this is where I could do it from, is from this preview screen. I don't necessarily have to open it up. If I want to just get right to it and play it, select my part. Okay, in this particular piece, I think the French horns are the stars. So let's find the French horn part and just take a look at it. And you already all know this. I know you know this, but this is why you want to use Make Music Cloud with your students. Just listen to this for a second. All those tools built in. Plus, your students, when they're going home, they're playing with a professional band, orchestra, and choir. So when they come back to the classroom, it's no more the struggle of who's on their left and right, because they have the roadmap. They have the matrix of what this is going to be by practicing with these recordings at home. There is no other application that provides you with professional accompaniments and assessment like we do at Make Music Cloud. I am so proud of what we provide. It's amazing. And I used it my career. It transformed the classroom and transformed the way I taught. It transformed the ensemble, the way they learned. It was just amazing. So anyway, you've got these great tools. You can adjust the accompaniment volume. You can adjust the my part. You can turn it off and on. You got a metronome. Again, reminder about the tuner. You can have that up. The student can record themselves as many times as they want. It'll list all the takes here. I do want to stop here about that for just a second. When a student records themselves and then they close this tab, all the recordings go away. There are no more recordings. So it's not saving every recording. It is caching every recording in a practice session. If a student wants to, they can save something, and then it saves it as a WAV file or an MP3 and somewhere on their device. All right. So multiple times they can see what their assessment is like. If you click on the assessment tool, one of the things you can teach your students to do is turn assessment off. I said that really kind of wrong. You can turn showing the assessment off. It's always assessing. So it's still going to put in the upper left-hand corner a number if they scored 100 or an 80 or whatever. But if you turn the show assessment off, they won't see red note, green note as it's going along, okay? But if you turn assessment on, that's going to happen, all right? So some things you should see. First of all, there are 4 tolerance levels that we provide, all right? The names on these are about to change. Easy is going to remain easy. This is the tolerance level we all should be using, okay? Send all the assignments out easy. I don't care how advanced your group is. Send them out easy. If you feel they need a challenge because they're getting too many hundreds and they're breezing through stuff, yeah, okay, bump it up to the next one. Strict tolerance, or advanced, I think it's going to be called, is going to be great for a rhythmic exercise, short, a scale study, a twister, some kind of a technical exercise where you're looking for some precision, all right? If you're looking for a musical performance, this is as far as I would go in terms of an assessment tolerance, all right? You'll get the most musical performance from your students in these first 3. And if they're advanced players and they're doing really well, I probably would bump it to average, all right? So assessment, how does it work? You click on the microphone icon, all right? And you have all kinds of possibilities here. If you have some MIDI devices, like I was just at a high school this morning, they had mallet cats. So those students could be doing their assignments through MIDI in Make Music Cloud. We generally are going to do most of our work melodic through microphone, all right? If you're assessing just percussive or rhythmic from your instrumental students, you can select just percussive through microphone. But let's leave it here for now. So I select the mode. I'm going to test the microphone. Everybody listen. So what I just did is I set the volume level for my microphone in this. Normally, we tell our students you should have headphones in, so Make Music Cloud is not recording the accompaniment, okay? And I'm going to attempt to sound like a French horn here. And now I've got an assessment, okay? So that was on. If I'm the kind of student who the minute they see one of these yellows or reds, I stop, then it becomes important for me to teach my students, turn that off. Notice it went away. All right. So some important things here. Another really powerful tool you should be aware of. It's the loop tool. So my French horns are always struggling with the octave leap. So let's not work on all this other stuff. Let's really get good at that octave leap. So I click on loop, I click set, I move my cursors here to cover that spot. And you know what? I'm going to save me more time. I just want that first measure. That's great. That's what I want. Did you all notice I slowed down the tempo to 108 and there was no degradation of audio quality? This also works in video assignments, by the way. So all of my string people out there that want to see hand position and bow arms and stuff, you're going to be able to have a video assignment of your students performing their work as well. So I slowed it down, okay? But now I give my students the other thing. I say, well, you know, I want you to eventually get this up to concert tempo. So for demonstration purposes with all of you today, I'm going to do this. Instead of bumping it up by increments, small increments, I'm going to do it by large numbers so that you get to see how this works. And now I have that subdivision going on. I don't know if you notice the tempo changing over here, but you can hear it's getting faster. Now we're about concert. Okay, so that's the loop tool, a way to break down a complex task for your students, get them to start at a slower tempo, because you can put all these parameters in your assigning when you build your assignment for your students, and get it out to them. Again, just a reminder too, I was able to get to any of the other parts here. If this were a multi-movement work, I could get to my multi-movements here. And here's the other reason we all should be using Make Music Cloud with our students. Any note I click on, all right, let's do one that's a little clearer. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit. Let's see. If I click here, there's my fingering. I'm gonna see if I can move that up. All right, notice I have it for F horn, B flat horn, and double horn. And there's two ways to do that D. There's the other one. All right, so especially for bassoonists, you're going to love this. All right, all of these pieces, everything that has notation on the screen, the minute you click on it, you have the fingerings. This goes for strings as well. For my voice people, you will only have this. Okay, sorry for the loudness, but that is a speaker icon that gives you, for the voice people, it should give a piano. For instrumentalists, it'll give you the sound closest to that instrument. All right. And then, of course, you have some display things you can do here. Let me go back and make sure assessment is on so you can see this. If you have students or yourself, if you suffer from color blindness, watch the color change. All right. See how that all becomes more readable for us. We can have the measure highlight. By the way, I left this on up until, wind ensemble in high school. How do you want the cursor to flow? You have all these different ones. I don't want a cursor moving. It's too distracting, whatever. You have choices. All good. And of course, we can enlarge and reduce the size as well. Great to show in class if you're looking to really blow this up and work on a section. So you got a look at the practice tools. We got a quick look at how to search for materials. I now want to show you a couple of titles. So I'm in Sound Innovations, and this is an iconic rite of passage. We've learned 3 notes. We can now play a song. This is exciting, right? So we're in school or we're at home practicing, and I'm finally at the point and do this. So this is, if you're lucky, this is what I'm doing at home. Now, it's a little more interesting. Okay. Now, my students are killing this. They're really getting great at it. You are so good at this. I want you to try playing those same three notes now with this. So, some really exciting news. The entire Sound Innovations Book One is now going to provide that additional resource. You're going to be able to go from any line in the book to a movie supplemental score to provide even more interest for your students, to get them to put on those earphones and feel like they're playing their part inside uh, a movie recording, in a studio somewhere, is just amazing. And to my orchestra person who's with us here today, Sound Innovations Book One is coming as well. The piece you heard earlier this is a great band piece. I'm sorry, orchestra piece, sorry. And of course, you're going to assign this on the first day at that tempo, right? We're going to assign it at this tempo. And I'm going to get my students to work on maybe even just that one measure, just to get that. Let's just get that. All right. There's the power. What are they playing with? A professional recording. All right. Uplifted. It's both in band and orchestra. I am bound. By the way, if I want to get out of loop, all I got to do is click clear and I'm out of there now. And that's the other thing we got to remember too. I can start anywhere in the piece. I don't have to start at the beginning. Maybe we want to start here and I'm able to jump there in class, get to it, send the assignment that this is where you're working. All right, now it's time for a choral piece. So I'm not going to start at the beginning on this one. Let's start here. And I want to alert everybody, this is a new faction of titles in Make Music Cloud called Performance Plus. So there's a great example of why you want your students to have these subscriptions at home. They're practicing with that professional recording. Now, this was full performance. So for choral Performance Plus titles all have this. A full performance score for the students, and then a part predominant. So now I was on soprano. So now what we're going to hear is the soprano line is going to be louder with the accompaniment way softer in the background. So now you're able to provide support to those members of your chorus who need that additional material. So part predominant. Now we're going to hear, the lower voices. When one voice is not enough. Part predominant parts. All Performance Plus are printable. You don't need a print subscription. They're made, okay? And look at this. There's actually an American Sign Language video that goes along with this as well. All right. So that's for the choral. All right. In the band world, what you would find for Performance Plus is the composer writes exercises for your band members to help them prepare the piece. And then also provides a video where they also talk about how the piece is constructed, what are the ways you can interpret it, so on and so forth. One more thing, this is not maybe as out there for all of you to know about, and I want to make sure you do know about it. In addition to the method books, the performance title pieces, we're providing technical exercises for you to use with your students as well. So here's a great resource. This is Blockbuster long tones. Be looking for this. We also have lo-fi long tones in all 12 keys with an etude that goes with it. For the brass players, we have a title called Indie Lip Slurs, which will get your beginning brass students to start to develop those chops that we want them to have. And it can start as early as beginner, and it can go as far as college students. So there's other resources in Make Music Cloud. So I highly encourage you all to get in there and kick the tires and try things out, look at it. So this is kind of like what we just saw with the hot cross buns in Sound Innovations. But now what we're doing is we're getting some specific direction here. And the student's going to do some basic long tone exercises because that's what we know gets ourselves to sound the best. This is what I'm doing at Helm Practice. But now it's so much more fun. And every one of there's a dozen or more. See, stuff from Black Adam, Batman, Superman. So we have partnered with Warner Brothers. We have these scores available that we can use in Make Music Cloud to make the fundamental practicing that much more interesting, engaging, and fun. Bottom line. So that's basically it. But there's a really great overview of how to find your music, how to search for it. Okay, we can get there from here. We can get there from the music catalog. We can look by style. Maybe I'm looking for a march. Okay, so you click on, there's all the marches. And here's a march for the orchestra. And I can, click on it, look at it. But maybe I want to limit this a little bit. I want to look at marches at a certain difficulty level. So I just scroll down here to difficulty, and I'm looking for something in the easy category. So now I'm getting all of these easy marches for myself to look at and work with my students. So that's just, another way to search. All right. And you can clear your parameters and, just look at it by instrument, look at, some of the features. Here are the categories you can do that search by. Also by genre. We just, did the marches. We looked at those. And also by difficulty level. All right. The difficulty levels are based upon a J.W. Pepper catalog rating system, just so you're aware of that. You already know this. I already showed you. It's the largest interactive sheet music library with professional recorded accompaniments. That's who your students are working with. Every fingering for every instrument is provided, even if there are multiple fingerings. All right. Tons of practice tools for them to be utilizing. As of last night, I had to update this last night. Yes, there are 199 methods, which includes Suzuki. All right. And band people, I'd really like to encourage you to at least look at Suzuki Volume 1 International Edition with Hilary Hahn playing. It's a great exposure for your students. And if you're really feeling like challenging them a little bit, have them play. Well, first have them listen to it. Listen to Hilary Hahn perform like long, long ago, and then ask them to see if they can figure out just the first two bars by ear. It's a great exercise. General music teachers, vocalists, have them sing it on La. But the thing is, you're listening to this world-renowned performance artist perform these wonderful folk songs that we should have in our ears anyway, but artfully. I mean, they're just beautifully performed. There are a group of exercises. Those 8 groups of exercises translate into thousands of lines of music that you can assign to your students. Thousands. The large ensemble content, that includes band, orchestra, choir, jazz ensemble, marching band. 7,128 interactive, professionally recorded titles. There's 17 collections of sight reading material. that kind of gets split a little bit between vocal and instrumental. Both groups can use all 17. Those are collections. If that's what you want to do with your students in terms of sight reading, you can go in and use those. If you're teaching jazz and some improvisation, there's 27 collections of improv material. There's 1,600, almost 1,650 solos in Make Music Cloud. And some of those include like pop movie titles, like the latest Black Adam. Might be something, from the Barbie movie coming. Who knows? Small ensemble. That number looks small. And that frustrates me personally a little bit. That says that there's 125 small ensemble titles in there. Well, that's because a lot of those are books, they're collections. So that translates into thousands of small ensemble potential titles for you to have and work with your students with. I'll give you a quick thing that I know some string teachers have enjoyed doing. The entire Canadian brass libraries in Make Music Cloud, they would take something like Amazing Grace, assign it to their string orchestra. And then when the string orchestra came in, they would break the string orchestra up into quintets. All right. 2 violins, viola, cello, and a string bass, or maybe a quartet. They would go to the room, be working as individuals, as a quartet, small ensemble. Then they would perform this arrangement of Amazing Grace that they practiced with the Canadian brass. And the reason my orchestra people have told me they like it is because it is a very clear, pure timbre that their students can relate to. They find sometimes trying to relate the same sound is more challenging than relating it to something that's slightly different, but really clear to the ear. And think about that, a brass quintet spread in a stereo, clear, I can practice, I can hear those parts. Then after they've performed for each other and they've applauded each other and evaluated each other, they pull it together and they perform the entire work. Well, you know what the outcome's going to be. That ensemble is going to be tighter than it's ever been because now every individual has had to play a solo, so to speak. Currently, as of today, we have 92 free titles in there. That fluctuates, just so you're aware. The digital sheet music catalog, ensemble pieces, percussion ensemble pieces, guitar pieces, piano books, method books, Sevchik for violin. I can't list everything. It's amazing what's in this PDF repertoire title that's in there. 5,400 choral titles. There's no accompaniment, but the music is in there. So that means you and your students have the parts. Scores. If you need to look at a score, there's 6,200 full scores in there. Print. If you do the print subscription, you'll be able to print what you're practicing. So assignments. I want to start assigning things to my students. Before I even dive in here, I want you to keep 3 words at the forefront of your assignment creation process. And that is thoughtful, deliberate practice. So before you start writing what you want, picking what you want, how am I going to get my students to have a thoughtful, deliberate practice at home utilizing the tools of Make Music Cloud? We're going to cover like scheduling the assignment, how to create a custom assignment. We'll look at a student submitting the assignment and also the teacher grading the assignment. So you get to see the circle of musical life that's going to occur here. Now, this is exciting. You have been asking for, my students don't always go into Make Music Cloud. How are they going to know they have an assignment? Now they do. So for the new school year, every time you create the assignment, your students will get an email with an automated message that you have assignments ready for them. They're also going to get an automated message if you reassign it. And by the way, that's another tip and trick. From the first day, get your students into the habit of, I'm probably going to reassign this because we're in the constant pursuit of perfection. So I may send it back to you. It might be really good. You may have gotten 100, but I want you to try something different this time. So I'm going to reassign it. So what I had to teach my students was reassignment is not failure. Reassignment means we have somewhere else to go. That's all. Yeah, in the account details page, they can update their email preferences at any time. So that's important to know. So this is going forward, starting today. So a student submitting an assignment. You just saw that process. Let's watch a quick video.
Can you hear our joyful song?
Once you've joined a class, you are able to receive your teacher's assignments. Assignments are graded by your teacher, and details about the assignment, including your grade and feedback, are sent back to you to help you learn and grow as a musician. To see your assignments, log into your Make Music Cloud account and head to the home page. If you are enrolled in more than one class, you will see a different tile for each class. Select the appropriate class to view your assignments. If you are only enrolled in one class, you will automatically arrive at your assignments page. Under Assignments, select the Start button next to the assignment you wish to complete. If the assignment you're looking to complete isn't listed on the home page, select View All. Once you have selected the assignment you wish to work on, choose your instrument from the list of parts and then select Open. After the assignment loads, read the instructions from your teacher. You'll see the rubric criteria and how many points are available for each, as well as the total points possible for the assignment. Select Got It to proceed with completing the assignment. You will have to give permission to Chrome to allow Make Music Cloud to have access to your microphone and video camera for video assignments. Before you record, or at any time, you can review the instructions by selecting Assessment, See Instructions. Your teacher can require that you start at a specific location and sometimes a specific tempo. If this is a vocal assignment, you can click on the ear icon to hear an arpeggio in the key of the assignment and the starting pitch at the cursor position. For all instrumental assignments, select the first note to hear your starting pitch. For sight singing exercises, the arpeggio and starting pitch will sound automatically after selecting Start. In order to submit a recording, you must use the default settings. If you change any playback settings, you may not be able to submit your assignment if they don't meet your teacher's requirements for this assignment. Changes to these settings may include tempo, selecting my part, accompaniment, or metronome. As shown, the record button will have an exclamation mark in the center of the red dot when something is preventing you from being able to submit. To revert any changes you made and record a take, click on the record button, then select Reset to Assigned Settings in the window that appears. Clicking Continue Anyway will allow you to record but not submit. Click Reset to Assign Settings to ensure your recording qualifies for submission. Any measures that you are not assigned to record are grayed out. To begin, press the record button. The first time you start a take, the Prepare to Record dialog box appears. Follow the on-screen instructions. Make sure your speaker's volume is loud enough so that your microphone picks up the test tone. Select Test Your Microphone. If Make Music Cloud encounters a problem, follow the on-screen instructions to troubleshoot the issue or contact our customer support team. Otherwise, select Start Practicing. If you pass the microphone test without issue, click Start to begin recording. Once the calibration is finished, the count-off automatically begins and you can start recording your performance. Click on the Stop button at any time to stop recording. The playback cursor shows where you are in the music. As you record, your performance is graded automatically. Green notes indicate that the correct pitch was played at the correct time. Red note heads indicate incorrect pitch. The vertical placement of a red note head on the staff indicates the pitch that was played. Yellow note heads indicate correct pitches that were played early or late, as shown by their horizontal placement. Any incorrect pitch is marked red regardless of the timing. If you'd like to listen to your recorded take, select the purple recording playback button to the right of the video control. When you are done, you can review your recordings under My Takes. The percentage of notes you play correctly, both in terms of rhythm and pitch, is listed with each take. If you would like to review the assessment for a take with a repeated section, click anywhere within the repeated section. The 1 or 2 icon appears. Click 1 to display the assessment for the first repeat, and 2 to display the assessment for the second repeat. The selected icon turns yellow, and the green and red notes change to reflect the selected repeat. If you are ready to submit the current recording, click Submit. To listen to a different take, select it from the drop-down menu in the top left and click the recording playback button again. You can review your recorded takes under the My Takes tab. Make Music Cloud saves the 5 highest scoring takes and 5 most recent takes in the drop-down menu under My Takes. Please note that the takes are not saved if you close your browser window. Select the take in the drop-down menu to view your red and green note assessment for that take. To submit your assignment, choose your best take and click Submit. Optional: if you want to download the recording for personal use, click the Save button to download the selected take as a WAV audio file. Note that this does not affect your submission. You will still need to complete your assignment and submit. Once you click Submit, the Comment Your Submission window appears. Type a comment into the text box if you'd like, and click Submit to submit your take along with your comments to your teacher. Your teacher will be able to review the recording as well as the grade automatically given to you. There's one more type of assignment you may have from your teacher, and that is an ungraded assignment. You will go through the same procedures outlined previously, but the assignment will receive no grade in the gradebook. I hope you were noting on the comments box, the student was giving you feedback, the teacher, as to what they accomplished in their assignment. That is something I highly recommend that you do from the beginning, is get your students into the habit of when they do an assignment, they're required to give you some kind of feedback. What happened practicing this week? What did you notice? What improvements did you hear? What is the emotional intent of the piece we're working on? Whatever it is you decide that's important. So we're looking here, and I don't think I have any assignments to grade. Oh, yes, I do. See, there's a blue dot. I don't know if you can all see that. I'm going to enlarge that a little bit. There's a blue dot in my Breathtaking Bridges band. So I click on assignments. And I think one of the best ways to teach assigning is to go through and actually grade an assignment to see what it's like. So let's choose one here. So here's the latest assignment that was asked of a student. And when I click on it, notice it comes up, and this was a video assignment. Yes, that student is quite old there and obviously needs to study better. So you have a video that your students possibly can do, right? You now can grade it. When was it submitted? It was recorded on the 27th of July, right? Was submitted then. Here are the instructions. What I'm going to suggest to all of you is that you start creating a document, a Word doc, or any kind of document with the sentences, the lines you use when speaking to your students. Sit up tall. Sit at the edge of your seat. Lift your pinky on the bow. Take a deep breath. before saying all those instructional things, just make a list. And then when you start to build your assignments, you don't have to type that all in. You simply copy and paste. It's a time saver. All right. Pay close attention to how you sound with the accompaniment. All right. There are some, you'll see some other assignments where there's a lot more detail. I do want to show you down below here, the student put 152 is fast. My best score was at 120. So I'm going to give that student credit for not trying to play it sloppily and hand it in at 152, but at the tempo that they can do it well at. Here's the other piece of information that I shared earlier. The tolerance level was set to easy. So make sure that you follow those kinds of things. Now, if I don't want to look at the video, I can just hide it. Same thing for the student, by the way. If they don't want to send, like if you send a video assignment and they're not comfortable, they can turn it off. I have my feedback here visually. This is the red note, green note. Obviously, I can listen to it. All right. And then offer feedback to the student based upon what I heard. So remember what I said earlier. I would probably reassign this because I hear a few cracked notes and I don't want that. I want that student to work on this again. They still got 100, but I'm talking about, lining up the air in the tongue and getting a clear, articulation there. So I might reassign it. And if I do, I'll be able to give them a comment as to why I'm reassigning it. So if I click reassign, I just want you to see this. Now I give them the comment and then I validate that it's a reassignment. It goes back to the student and now they're expected to resubmit. Okay, I'm just going to cancel that. So here's the next thing, the grading process. Notice, try to ignore, first of all, ignore the bottom one. That's not supposed to be there at all. It doubled for some reason, I don't know why. But this is the Make Music Cloud assessment. This is red note, yellow note, green note. This is telling you whether you played the right notes and pitches. We already saw that. We got the green, it was a 10. Then I have a rubric here that I designed, and it was called Overall Performance, just for, something to show you. So I'm going to click grade, and I want you to see this. So how did I construct this? Well, I started with my lowest. What's the lowest points I'm going to give my student? And it's just a philosophy of mine. If you're handing something in and it's poorly performed, at least you handed something in. I'm not going to give you anything less than a 70. So if I do give the student a 1, notice my instructions. It sounds like you could benefit from another week to work on this. So I might as well reassign it instead of giving them the grade. Make sure you are playing with a beautiful tone and keeping all the notes full value and connected, just as if you were singing it. Well, maybe I want them to have that. All right. So if 2, overall decent performance, some notes are not full value and your tone needs to be fuller, use more air. A 90 is, notice it's like I'm talking to them. It's not like, cold, 70 or A, B, C, D. This is more meaningful, is the dialogue. So this shows that you understand what is needed to make a musical performance, almost mastered. And then this one, wow, this was beautiful. Keep up the good work. You should try playing this way on the music you have been looking at. Okay, so great instruction, and I'm also encouraging application of what you learned here to the music before. All good pedagogy that we want to see done. So this one is Make Music Cloud. This one is me. I created that rubric. All right. And, if I want to finish the process, I could type the comments in and click save. And now the student will be able to go to their homepage and see that they have a graded assignment and go back and read the comments. All right. I'm going to go back to the Gradebook. So another way I could have gone there, by the way, was go to Gradebook. Okay. So let's look at another assignment. So here's one that's already graded. Let's take a look at this one. All right. So it's a comments box evaluation rubric and an assessment. It also was a video assignment. All right. For now, I'm going to just hide that. Clearly, the assessment grade, oh, this must have been one of those long tone exercises I wanted. Okay. So the student gave me feedback here below. He says, I practiced this at a slower tempo, but got poor scores. So I tried it at 72 and got 100. That's interesting. Maybe they're not holding it long enough. Those are some things. I will say my sound is better after doing this, working on a steady tone for full boy. So this already got graded. We sent it out. Comments, cheerleading, great job. Take full breath of air and support the tone to the end. All right. So let's just look at the rubric here. How could I look at that? I'd have to edit. So if I click edit, now I can look at it. Notice how I'm labeling things. All right. I'm not suggesting that my way is the right way. I'm just saying that it's another way to consider in terms of evaluating your students and interfacing with them. So, I'm going to share with them. I'm just a little sad. You needed to share a little more information in your comments box. You gave some information, but I would have liked more. Okay. And we'll talk about that more in class. You share a lot of detailed information about your experience, and that's what they got, and it was done. So that's it. So you can see these are just a couple of examples of what I consider full assignments that are giving the student feedback. They're giving me feedback. There is communication going in a circular direction here. So I'm teaching when I'm not in their presence. The walls are coming down. This, you will find, is going to make your students more comfortable than ever. I don't know how many of you have ever heard in your career, you make me nervous when I play in front of you, or I don't like playing in front of Johnny. He's always saying something about my sound, whatever. This is a very safe environment for us to work on getting better and learning as we're going along. So the next step here is, well, what is it like to create an assignment from scratch? I'm going to go to my library, take a second here to show you what that means. In my library is my list of favorites, a list of created content. That's material I created either in Finale or in Compose, and I brought it in, or a sight reading builder outline, okay? And then I also have playlists. I'm going to take a look at the playlists we have here. So specifically some choral material, choir, band, orchestra, all right, all the way down below here, as I get down a little bit, here's my winter concert. Here's a great way to use a playlist. Create the playlist, share it to your students. They now have all of the material you're going to perform for your concert, and they're expected to work on that, okay? Suzuki violin stuff, jazz stuff that I've got working in here. In the meantime, let's look at, okay, so here are some pieces I want to work on with my ensemble. So here's one. I'm going to open up the trombone part. Here's how we go through the process of creating an assignment. So the first thing I'm going to do is click assign. Now, I will warn you, it's not a warning, I will let you know this is all about to change really, really soon. And by really soon, I mean like really soon. We are going to get all of the steps that you're seeing here boiled down to just 2 pages. All right. But the same process is basically going to be there. Do we want it to be a video recording? Actually, the first step is think about the words you're going to use to get your students to do what? Deliberate practice, right? Thoughtful, deliberate practice. How can I make them be thoughtful? Here's a great way. Listen, okay? Think about, all right? Compare, whatever. Thoughtful, deliberate practice. I do want an audio recording, video recording, I mean. I'm going to create a custom rubric, all right? And that'll actually happen on this page in the newest version. Do I want them to use the metronome or not? Do I want them to use the accompaniment or not? These are things you have to think about as a teacher. It's the pedagogy. Maybe I want them to focus on their time. So maybe I want them to work with the metronome and just themselves. Maybe I want them to work on blend, balance, and articulations. So I want them to play with the accompaniment. Do I want them to have the ability to hear my part when they're recording? I'll share with you, I never ever used that. I never did. I only used it with beginning French horn students. Beginning French horn students, they twitch their lips and they can play a whole scale. I just found my part was a great set of training wheels the first 4 weeks, and I gradually stopped letting them use my part. Notice the assessment tolerance. If you want to turn anything into sight reading, you can and make music. All you have to do is select sight reading, and now it'll happen. But notice it won't let me do this. And why won't it do that? It's because you can't do sight reading in video. You can only do sight reading in a non-video assignment. And you get to choose a minute and a half or 2 minutes rather, down to 15 seconds. And there's your cursor type. And are we going to allow pitch and rhythm? Yes. If we want it to be in a sight reading assignment, I'm not going to make this sight reading, but let it go. Just so you understand how sight reading works. If you gave them 15 seconds to look at it, the clock starts the minute they open it. Then as soon as the timer is up on the 15 seconds, then it starts giving you a metronome count off, and then it starts recording them. And then as soon as it's done, it goes submitted. So that's a little scary to a student if they've not been doing it. So the suggestion here is model sight reading in Make Music Cloud several times in class before you do a sight reading assignment for your students, okay? Now, custom assignment, you won't have to do this very shortly. It's all going to be in the home page. Where do you want the assignment to start? Okay. Maybe I want it to start on this bar. Okay. So I'm going to change that measure and say not on 1, but on 672. And now my cursor starts here, and I only wanted them to work on the next 4 bars. Instead of going to 182, we're going to go to 78. And now there's what I'm going to work on. Okay. And if I want to, I can manually adjust that. Maybe it's just necessary to do 4 bars. And do I want them to do it at concert tempo? No. Send your first assignments out at slower tempos. All right. Now, do I want everyone to get that? If that's the assignment I want all my students to do, yeah, sure, go ahead. Click the next button. But if I want to control the parameters for all of my instruments now, I can change those parameters. Right now, this is the flute 1 part. And maybe I want that to be also the oboe and the clarinet. So I copy those parameters and I assign it to the clarinet and the oboe. So now those criteria are going to be going to those 3 instruments. All right. And then I can continue on and I'm ready to go. Copy and close. So now I can get it out to just those instruments and I'm ready to rock and roll here. And then the next step, okay, let's actually just do same for all parts for now, is to go here. When you open Make Music Cloud for the first time, you only see this one. This is the red note, green note, yellow note assessment. Okay. I add it to the rubric. You get to decide how many points it is. All of these other rubrics are my custom designs, and you already saw a couple and you understand how they, to work on them. So if I'll just edit real quick. So this is a rubric based on legato style. I have just beginning, hearing some legato now. Nice. You have my attention. This was beautiful. Bravo. So again, I'm trying to have a conversation and evaluation, not a judgmental one as much. All right. That's just a philosophical thing. You can be, this was, needs more work, improving, satisfactory, excellent. If you want to work that way, that you can design them that way. If you have state requirements, copy the state requirements and build your rubrics based on the state. If you're using your rubrics based on national standards, copy them into your rubric, design them, build them. You see how you do it here, how you word it. You always start from the lowest and go on from there. So you have the ability to customize the assignment exactly the way you want your students to practice it at home to get the result you want at home. The last step in this, all right, let's just assign something. So I generally made the evaluation, after a while, I expected everybody to get it. And now, so where am I putting my emphasis? It's here on the dynamics. So this assignment, I expect you to get the notes and rhythms right because we're using Make Music Cloud. So now your focus is really on these dynamics, or I can just remove that and make it all about dynamics. And I have to listen to the recordings and assign based upon this rubric I built. So those are the ways, you can choose to do your assigning and work with your students. Now, the next step is, do I want to assign it now or do I want to save it for later? If I go not now, it's going to go into my assignments. It's saved, so I can assign it at a later time. If I choose to assign it now we get into, okay, well, what class do you want this to go to? All right. Okay, I only have one class ready to go here with the grading scale. Here's when it's due. How late am I allowing the latest submissions? Am I assigning it to all the students, or is this for just a couple? Well, maybe it's only for these two players. All right. Or assign all. So it's however you want to do it. And then you would click here, and then it would go in and be assigned to the students. I'm not going to complete that for now. This is going to change. You're going to see something slightly different in the very, very near future. I do want to go back to the grade book and just highlight a couple of things I did gloss over. You do have a legend here. You may open it and not see it, but there is your grade book legend. And the color coding is very helpful. So if your students are scoring between 80 and 100, it's going to show up as a green. If they're in 50 to 80, it's got the yellow cautionary color. And if they're less than that, it's red. So it kind of becomes triage when you open your grade book. If you see reds, what are you going to do? You're going to gravitate to those students and see, how can I help them first? How can you set up co-teaching situation? You can't, Matt. I'm so sorry to tell you that. I just saw that. You cannot do a co-teaching situation. It's just not set up to do that. Once you set up your calendar, you'll be able to look at your grade book in some different options here. So by period, I don't have, if I want to look at my fall, okay, I have no, we're obviously not in fall. If I want to look at spring, all right, we'll be able to just see those particular semesters. The other thing you can do, by the way, is export this grade book. If you're working with a grading program, you can export this as a CSV file or an Excel format and be able to take that data and maybe copy and paste it into your grading program, save you some time there. All right. And you can look at percentages or points, however you want it to evaluate. And again, by semester. Right. That's, the grade book. Let's look at class analytics. Right now, it's going to give me, because that was that one assignment, anything in purple. Let me blow this up a little bit so you can see this. So this is all my classes, all my students over the past 7 days. So the students spent roughly 15 minutes. All right. And it's purple, which means that's my assignment. That's the assigned content. It was that Fire's Fury piece. It was open one time. All right. Let's look the past 30 days and look at this. So now you're seeing the assigned content that my students have been looking at. These are assignments I've created, and I'm getting, it was open. They worked on the Arvin's book for 29 times. That's awesome. They worked on the El Capitan March, the Sousa March we're practicing, 27 times. This was a new assignment, by the way. So you see what I'm talking about? All right. Lots of great information here. Now here, to me as the teacher, I almost got more excited about this. Oh, checking out some jazz stuff here. Looked at a jazz arrangement. Doing the Bordoni vocalises. Oh, they're checking out those indie drama lips. Look at all the material the student is. You win. As a teacher, this is a win. This is what you want. They're going beyond your assignment and they're working on additional materials. So, analytics, very powerful tool. I'm just going to share with you a Chicago suburb school in the month of October, 356 hours of practice in Make Music Cloud. And the performance I got to hear, which was 2 weeks later in November, was absolutely exquisite. I could not believe I was listening to a 6th grade and a 7th grade band. It was just amazing. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful year. Your students need you more than ever. Thank you all.